The tampon king gets back in the ring. I speak of former VP nominee Tim Walz. He joined Beto O'Rourke at a Texas town hall last night, and the estrogen levels were enough to give Chuck Norris menstrual cramps. I wonder, is our strength our diversity?
Our strength is our diversity. We've been talking about this for years as a country of immigrants. And we let them define the issue on immigration. We let them define the issue on DNI.
But I'm thinking there's only one explanation for Tim spewing nonsense like this. Time of the month.
All right, let's talk about a funny TV host named Greg Gutfeld poking fun at a guy named Tim Walz. Who's in charge of Minnesota? It's like watching a comedian make jokes about someone who's super confused in a big store parking. Law at Greg's. Jokes hit Tim like a papaya at a party where everyone's eating meat. From messy rules to tons of paperwork, Greg makes Tim's job sound like a comedy show with no breaks. Stick around, this roast is spicier than Tim's popularity is chili, and it's just as wild as it sounds.
Tim Walz continues to be criticized for embellishing his rank in service. After it came out over the weekend, he once claimed to be an official bikini inspector. Walz's direct superior in the National Guard says Walz knew his unit was about to deploy to Iraq and went behind the back of his superior officer to resign. When reached for comment, Walz yelled, "Hey, look over there," and then ran away. Although Walz's actions look bad to veterans, Dems say these revelations could really help him win the coward vote.
Oh, Tim Walz, if being a leader was like picking food at a party, he'd be the mashed potatoes nobody wants, kinda boring, not needed, but somehow still there. Then comes Greg Gutfeld, throwing shade like he's cutting through a pile of fireworks with a chainsaw. He slices through Tim's silly ideas with super sharp jokes, like a hyper chef on comedy night. It's less like running a state and more like drawing with old, gross mayo.
Exploited his military background his pride. He said was related to his service. And he actually wasn't drunk. He just misheard the instructions to make drunk. But he blew a super high level. It was like, .2, driving 100 miles an hour. And then when he rushed to 50 saying he wasn't drunk. And this guy has complete written all over him. He created a snitch line, but lied about his own personal practice. He didn't even own up to it. He got he pushes a hoax about on accounts. And then closer you look at him, he's a creepy cop.
Let's be real, Tim Walz running Minnesota is like a substitute teacher, trying to calm a room full of hyper raccoons. He talks like he read a book called Leadership for Beginners and decided, yup, that's my whole plan, and the way he does it. It's perfect if you want to turn a place with tons of lakes into a place with tons of bad ideas.
Saw just recently Donald Trump's executive order to make it more difficult, specifically to women, trying to make it more difficult for women to be able to vote. We see one of the first things they do is try and restrict the vote.
Wait, so Trump is making it more difficult for women to vote? How so? Math problems? But it's further proof that the most dangerous thing for a leftist is a follow-up question, which is why you never hear any. But I guess questioning elections is okay now. But the best moment came when Walz forgot who he is.
Greg didn't even have to try hard to make fun of Tim. It's like teasing someone who shows up to a serious job interview wearing flip-flops and a blindfold. Tim's like, here's a kazoo and a board that says feelings. I'm ready. He basically handed Greg a giant plate of jokes and said, go wild. Honestly, it's not even joking anymore. It's like a sarcasm contest. And Tim showed up with glitter and a good try ribbon.
Walz is a strange.
Oh, he's strange.
He's great. Him and I are the same age. How does he look so much younger?
No, he's a strange guy.
Strange.
He called up years ago. I was in the White House, and he said, my house is being surrounded by people with American flags. I said, is that a good thing or a bad thing? He said, I think they're going to attack me. This was during the riots and everything else. They were MAGA people. They like the American flag, all right? And they also had Trump. And I said, how do you know? There were about 15,000. He said, He said, could you put out a word like that I'm your friend? I don't even know him, but that's the only time I ever spoke to him. And if you look back long ago, or tweets, before Truth, tweets, long ago, I put out a statement. He's a good man, the governor. He's on our side. I didn't know him, but I didn't want him to get hurt. And everybody put down their flags and they left. He said it was America. He said it was America.
Let's talk about money stuff. Tim looked at rising prices, people losing jobs, and businesses leaving and said, you know what? Let's add more taxes. Tax the air. Tax smiles. Tax people thinking about moving. Businesses are running away from Minnesota like it's a spooky house full of weird rules and boring slideshows. Greg tore into Tim's money plans like a raccoon digging through trash. He basically yelled, how do you make California look like a money-making paradise? The only thing growing here is paperwork and headaches. Now, about crime, Tim handles it like a kid playing with matches, thinking it'll all be fine but ending in chaos. His plan for more crime: blame everyone, hold hands, and hope bad guys like dancing. It's like giving out candles in a burning house.
Went on the same bad cocaine, but Kamala can't speak, he can't speak. Biden was so high he couldn't remember anything. Like, this is literally the dumbest administration of all time. Why is he talking?
It really is the ultimate clown show, and I said this in the pod. He's a clown without a circus.
He doesn't even need
He's roaming the terrain. Is there some carnival that I could work for?
Yeah.
I'll watch your window.
He's a rogue clown
Yes.
who is just an inconsequential footnote to vice presidential history.
Yes.
No one will remember his name on trivia night, and that's going to be in 3 months from now.
Greg's out here telling jokes with numbers, holding up a map of Minnesota labeled carjacking city over the Twin Cities. He said Tim's crime plan is like a mall cop trying to stop a fight with a kazoo and a notebook. If Tim ran the whole country's safety, we'd all be learning a new language by next week. And schools, oh boy. Tim, who used to be a teacher, turned Minnesota classrooms into places where kids learn about feelings instead of math or science. They're graded on spotting tiny rude things and building safe spaces with popsicle sticks. Greg went all in, saying the only test kids pass in Minnesota is how to always be upset. Schools aren't about learning anymore. They're like a show where you get a trophy just for showing up and a TikTok therapy session.
Especially talking about these old white guys who seem to disappoint us on a regular basis in this country.
Dude. You're an old white guy. And you're right, you are a huge disappointment. I guess hating himself is the first thing he's nailed correctly. Because Walz saying old white men suck isn't a political stance, it's his confession. Walz calling people old and white is like Maxine Waters making fun of someone for shopping at Wigs R Us. He wants to execute more DEI policies. Trump wants to execute murderous gang members. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Can you see the difference?
Now, let's talk about the virus rules. Tim acted like he was trying out for America's strictest leader. He shut down everything: bars, churches, but protests. Those were super important. Like the virus knew to stay away if you had the right signs. Greg couldn't stop laughing at that. He said Tim closed grandma's bingo night but let huge crowds march, as long as they chanted certain things and had big paper puppets. It's not health rules, it's like a play with a clipboard and Minnesota's extra money. Tim had so much cash he could have given it back to the people who earned it. Instead, he spent it like play money at a yard sale, buying more workers and fancy murals of himself looking thoughtful.
As that Walz lost, but one of them at Politico says is like Walz's wide eyes showed his passion and emotional intensity. Can we show that? There is that humans would widen their eyes to convey that danger is close. What emotion are you getting from that?
Sorry. That was every...
Greg nearly fell over from the silliness. He said, Tim spending that money is like giving a kid a credit card and saying, only buy what you need. Sure, Tim, I bet the government really needed that new coffee machine and yoga classes for workers and the paperwork. Tim made it so hard to do anything like starting a lemonade stand needs for teen forms and a speech about who you are. It's like a super strict Minnesota with better signs but worse results. Greg said Tim's trying to win a gold medal and making things complicated. Like a circus show about taxes and Tim's weird love for Gavin Newsom, it's like he's trying to copy California's mistakes but make them colder and less cool.
Tim Walz vomits more nonsense.
I called Donald Trump a wannabe dictator. It's because he is. It's because he is. Maybe it's an adult like Donald Trump, you bully the out of him back.
This is a weak, cruel man that takes it out and punches down on people.
Wow. Jamie.
What a
Painful,
douchebag,
huh?
Greg. That was absolutely painful. He was the keynote speaker at this conference. Can you imagine having to watch more of that?
Tim sees Gavin mess up California with bad ideas and thinks, cool. But what if I make it freezing and take away jobs? It's like he's following a bad playbook. But in snow boots with higher taxes, Greg didn't hold back. He said, if Gavin's like a fancy shampoo ad with big ego, Tim's his backup who got lost and started talking gibberish. Tim acts like a big hero while tripping over everything he does. And transportation? He wants a super expensive train that might be done when dinosaurs come back. Meanwhile, Minnesota roads are like a bumpy video game track. And people just want their cars to survive. But no, Tim's the busy dreaming of magic trains like he's at a wizard school, while real roads fall apart like crumbly toast.
So the tone of the media was one of sadness, not reporting Walz's loss, but mourning it. Now, the truth is that a VP debate is like a colonoscopy. It's important and necessary. That doesn't mean you want to watch it.
Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
Even a deer in the headlights is screaming, "Get the out of the way, Jude!" It's no wonder they don't do follow-up questions with Democrats. They're like the top layer of day-old skimpy bean dip. What's underneath, you don't want to see.
Greg rolled his eyes so hard it was like an earthquake. The sarcasm was so thick it could have its own address. Great job, Tim, he said. Let's toss out smart ideas and spend billions on a train to nowhere that's slower than a line at the DMV and less useful than a flashlight in a snowstorm. When Tim's on TV, it's like he's pretending to be a good leader. But his speeches are as clear as a bad internet connection. His team's probably waving signs, hoping he says something that makes sense. Greg said watching Tim explain things is like seeing a raccoon try to send a message with oven mitts messy, loud. And he thinks he's doing great. It's not just awkward, it's like a sport nobody wants to watch.
Meanwhile, Kamala's VP, Tim Walz, is being accused of lying about his rank, which is called stolen valor. But in Walz's defense in Minneapolis, stealing is legal. But misrepresenting your past for political gain? I see that as a problem, said one woman.
When things get tough, Tim doesn't just change the subject, he spins like a dancer on too much soda. Ask about crime, and he's suddenly talking about bike lanes fixing everything. Mention money troubles, and he's ranting about parking. Lots and feelings. It's like a speech about nothing, with a slideshow about hugging it out. Greg nailed it. Tim's like a magic answer toy that only spits out confusing words about fairness and gardening and his image. He acts like a friendly farm dad. But his idea of tough is drinking milk without a straw. He's the guy at a barbecue with fancy juice, asking if the food's from nearby. Greg roasted him perfectly. Folksy. This guy's as relatable as a veggie burger at a truck show, quoting big words in a cozy vest.
Video of the day, and he's got a very weird way of greeting his wife of 30 years. Roll it. I want to see this in slow motion. You'll see Walz extends his hand to his wife. She grabs it. They shake. He pulls her close and then goes in for that non-friction hug, all the while still shaking her hand. I wish there was a word to describe that. Oh yeah, weird. I've seen warmer embraces between Chris Christie and a salad.
Minnesota's country folks are begging for help. like someone trying to cancel an old internet plan. They wanted a leader who gets their life tractors, jobs, maybe a church dinner. Instead, they got Tim, who thinks the countryside starts at a bike lane and ends where the fancy drinks stop. It's not leading, it's like selling a lifestyle with extra buzzwords. Greg's final hit. He called Tim the IKEA governor, comes in a box, missing pieces. And you're left crying over a shaky setup, wondering if it's a joke. Tim thinks governing is like making a social media page with dance moves and milk. Greg saw through it all, picking apart every fluffy idea, every weird speech, every fake I'm your hero moment with super sharp jokes. He didn't just roast Tim, he turned his whole boring oatmeal style of leading into a pile of soggy mush. The best part, Tim probably thought it was a compliment. Minnesota deserves better than a guy in khakis acting like he's in a group project, and Greg, with every joke sharper than a pencil, showed everyone that behind the cozy vest and fake smile is a guy who leads like he's following a broken furniture manual, confused, weak, and missing half the pieces.